Maryville College community. My name is Kier Hull. I'm a senior art major here on campus. Today I will be interviewing John Ribble and Cynthia Quinn from Madison, Wisconsin, a husband and wife team who are exhibiting their shows. John is exhibiting his show in Blackberry Farm Gallery of Clayton B and La Vida Dolce Gallery of Clayton A, while Cynde's show is ongoing in the Denso Gallery of Clayton A, now through October 25th. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Your work is absolutely beautiful, so.
Thank you very much.
You are a plein air pastel artist.
I am, absolutely.
Do you mind telling everyone what a little bit about that means? Like, what does plein air mean for those who might not know?
It is a French term that literally means in the open air. Plein air really kind of started as a movement in France.
And what made you decide to exclusively work in plein air and pastels? What inspired you to do that?
Looking at Edgar Degas' work. Okay, Degas was a master of pastels. I was doing monotypes. I tried doing that. I worked with that for a while and really enjoyed it, but I really enjoyed working with the pastels.
Right.
And so basically I dropped the monotype aspect of it and started working exclusively with the medium pastel.
This isn't your first time here on campus. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your time here?
I came here actually as a resident from Ohio, but my father, due to certain circumstances, was actually hired as the very first director of financial aid here at the campus. So I immediately became a resident of Maryville, and I love being here.
Do you mind showing us a few of your pieces?
Not at all. It would be lovely to show you everything that I've been doing.
What's your favorite part of this painting or drawing?
Oh, wow. My favorite part of this actually comes from my experience as a graphic designer. The interaction of shapes and interesting color scheme that's going on here, and the light also playing into it, creating interesting shapes of shadows. You know, you're starting here and you know, moving in with these shapes and so on to create the feeling of depth in there. All of that to me is a really interesting part of this, apart from the sort of narrative aspect, which is small town Wisconsin.
So most of your pieces are like out in nature and you're out in the middle of it.
Absolutely.
Here you're in a city, not really city, but small town.
Yes.
What's the difference in doing it in this kind of setting versus like right out in the woods or off the beaten path?
It's, I have done this enough that it isn't really something that bothers me that much. I'm on the sidewalk and people are walking by me left and right, and I think it resonates as a really interesting design.
Most definitely.
This is, you know, the aspect of my work that is probably the most prevalent, which is the natural world. This was in an area of Wisconsin called the Driftless area, which is an area that is a beautiful rolling hills that run along streams and so on and so forth. Not unlike Tennessee in a lot of ways. Very quiet, wind in the trees. The compositional idea of this, the diagonals, you know, caught my eye.
I was about to say, with all these other trees growing on this hill, kind of at their own angle.
Exactly.
And then he's just sitting at.
Yep. Trees to me are like people.
Absolutely.
I get so attached to subjects that I choose. I've done paintings that are literally portraits of trees. In this case, you know, I'm really in an area that has a lot of them, and I love that. In terms of just the pure experience of being there, this is my favorite. I mean, hands down.
Hey, it's so nice to meet you.
Great to meet you.
Cynde, thank you so much for joining us today. Your exhibit is mostly hand embroidery and textiles. What drew you to this art form?
I began my career 50 years ago as a graphic designer, but I wasn't really feeling that the work I did was personal. It was obviously for clients. So I sat in on a presentation that a good friend of mine gave, and I just got totally interested in the idea of working with textiles rather than paint. And so the work in this gallery is just about everything I've done in the last 8 years. This example here was from an experience I had working for the Dane County Animal Rescue Service, not the cats and dogs, but all the wildlife.
Right. So definitely what stands out to me is the shell, partly because it's coming off, and also just I love the patterning in here. Did you hand dye that yourself?
The shell underneath that piece of cotton, it was a white piece of cotton. Here is where that cloth was on its first iteration, but it just didn't pop enough. So I went in with very thin acrylic paint and I just started painting the dark parts and then hand stitched down to get the ridges. You can see some of the other pieces that I have that there will be some relationship between the entire piece being a textile.
Do you mind telling me a little bit about this piece?
Well, this one is the most recently completed of the works in this show. This piece, once again, is vintage linens, and I had printed this oak leaf on this small vintage piece and had it in my studio for a while and kind of wondering what to do with it. And I read online someone's PhD thesis about how plants and animals interrelate and how various insects and rodents distribute truffles that grow in the woods that eventually get down into the soil. So my idea was this was the roots going down. I also was trying to figure out ways to embellish the piece, and the circles came to mind, especially these, which I viewed as tree rings. As I was saying on the other piece, thinking about how the fabric can finish, I used some vintage pieces, and I'm gonna just take this off so you can see the back. I like the idea of thinking about the backside too.
So it's almost like when a sculpture, you display a sculpture and a sculpture stands on a stand like this and you can view it from all angles. You wanted the same kind of idea where the back has something interesting as well going on.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I love that. Cynde, thank you so much for joining us today. Your work is beautiful, and I'm so excited that it's here.
Thank you so much. And I just want to take a moment to thank the college and Dr. Carl Gombert for inviting me, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
I'd like to thank John and Cynde for their time and sharing their talents with us during this month. Their artist reception is October 23rd from 6 to 7:30, so come out if you're in town for homecoming.